I can't hear you anymore. Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. No, I had to set this up so it was streaming live. So I'm actually going to stream this on YouTube right
Okay.
now. All right. So there's a lot more I can do with it. So let's have a little bit of fun here.
Great.
All right. So let me turn my volume down here. Otherwise, I'll be able to hear us twice. And then I've got that camera and another camera right over here. All right. So now that we've got all that stuff done, I'm going to switch this and I'm going to go ahead and get this rodeo started right after I hit this one button here. And
I can't hear you anymore.
You can't hear me at all.
I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. No, I had to set this up so it was streaming live. So I'm actually going to stream this on YouTube right now.
I know what the problem is.
So there's a lot more I can do with it. So let's have a little bit of fun here.
Great.
All right. All right. You can still hear me, yeah?
Mhm.
Okay. There was reverb. That was the issue. Okay. All right. So here we go. Hey, listen, it's a circus and I prove it every day. All right. And so here we go. All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. Today's show is brought to you by uppercutchops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all natural, dry-aged USDA prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you try their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course, the king of all, those massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had. All USDA prime, probably be the best you've ever had as well. Wait till you try those burgers as well. Wow, they're incredible. Give them a call. Find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. That's for uppercutchops.com. 702-799-9935 for uppercutchops.com. And a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, all of our independents right here in Las Vegas, KJPT and KVGK. VGK, that would be Stanley Cup champion, Vegas Golden Knights. Yes. So excited. Season ticket holder. What could be better? Yes. All right. And also welcome in everybody on hotel television in over 600,000 rooms from coast to coast in every Nielsen rated market, plus Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, and Wow Cable affiliates. Folks, we are here with a very special guest. In fact, let's let her introduce herself.
My name is Stephanie Phillips, and I'm running for the United States Senate seat against Jackie Rosen in 2024. I've been in Las Vegas for 30 years, and I've been in the real estate business that whole time. I own my own business and have for 18 years. I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. They're 18 and 21. And I also run a nonprofit of my own, and I'm involved in many other charities and nonprofits. And I'm looking forward to our chat, Sal. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Nice round of applause for Stephanie. And you know, it's folks, I have to say that it is a pleasure not only to have somebody that is running for Congress, running for Senate, somebody that could actually do something in the great state of Nevada. Have to tell you, folks, we have had some dicey people in the past, in my opinion, and maybe we might get somebody in there that can actually get something done. So, Stephanie, let's hope that we could get off on the right foot here on this program and get all your information, at least a fair amount of it out there. And first and foremost, I want you to talk about protecting Nevada's children, because we have a real problem with that on a nationwide basis. Let's drill down to the state of Nevada alone. Go ahead and tell us what your views are on that.
You know, we hear about the kids all across the nation. And I think we're facing the same thing in our state as all the other states. And it's this gender ideology that is being pushed through curriculums at schools. And they are trying to they are putting boys into the girls' locker rooms, their bathrooms, their sport programs. They have this radical sex education that they approved last year, and they keep drilling down on more and more and more. And I don't agree with the sexualization of kids. And people try and put words in my mouth and say that I'm against the trans community and that I'm against the LGBTQ community just because I'm against the sexualization of kids. And I am not against those folks. When you're an adult and you can make those decisions on your own, that's fine. But our kids having these drag queen shows at local libraries that we've seen across this country for kids in elementary school and young kids, that just should not be happening. So those are the things that I'm standing against. And we need to really focus on this and protect our kids.
Why is there such a ridiculous agenda for these ridiculous things with kids? What the hell's the matter with people?
I don't know. It is this woke leftist group that we have across the country. They're trying to control the kids. The kids are the future of our country. So once they have control of the kids, they want to control the future and control the country. And this narrative, I believe the majority of the US is completely against this. And not to mention all the gender affirming care, the surgeries, which many are calling it's just plain mutilation of these kids. That shouldn't be happening at such a young age. Let the kids be kids. I just put a video out about this the other day, and they're just not letting kids be kids. They're forcing this narrative, they're forcing these scenarios on them. And the doctors that are performing these at such young ages on these kids, I think it's terrible.
What I don't understand is why the kids are being used as in my opinion, as a side distraction with this ridiculous agenda for the real things that are going on in Washington and even right here in the state of Nevada.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot has to do with money, obviously. These surgeries cost tons and tons of money. So these doctors are getting, and also what we see is a lot of trafficking that happens through our state. So the sexualization of children, there are long-lasting effects on all of this. And it's not just one thing, it's like a trickle-down effect. And we need to get a handle on all of this, and especially the sex trafficking as well. I would like to task force that is really going to be able to do something with appropriate money, appropriate resources, so we can get this sex trafficking stopped, because the horrors that these kids endure, and these young kids, it is absolutely horrific what I hear. And I have been involved in children nonprofits for decades that fight trafficking, that rescue them, rehabilitate them. And that was my motivation for starting my own nonprofit, was to help hungry kids in this valley, help trafficked kids and things like that. So that's just something that we need much more attention put on. I don't hear anything out of our representatives as far as that goes on.
There are 4 million kids, as I've read recently, missing every year. From the US alone, there are well over 1 million kids missing per year. And again, the source, there's a lot of sources out there that talk about this. Whether it's 1 million, whether it's 2 million, whether it's 1. The fact is, kids are missing. Where are they going? What's going on with the kids? And then further, the kids are being, in my opinion, misdirected, misguided just within our education system, and let alone everything outside of that. Talk to that, Stephanie, would you?
You know, I've read statistics that it's 2 million and upwards of missing kids. I don't know where these kids go. It's incredible that they can track our every move through technology and our phones and all of this, but yet they can't find these kids that just go missing. Look at, there's over 100,000 that have come over the border by themselves, and They don't know. The government doesn't know where they are. Where did they go? It's astonishing that these kids, that many at that level, cannot be found, don't know. It seems like there's, some really dark things happening underground, underneath, some serious attention put on this.
Right here in the state of Nevada. And when I look at the statistics of all the kids missing, and I wonder not only what happens to them, but what about their God-given rights? What about the fact that these kids aren't even given a chance to voice their opinion, let alone we think about kids at maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, whatever. Now they're talking about gender reassignments and all this other nonsense. Take 1 minute and talk about that.
It's just, like I said before, I think that these things are completely misdirected. Kids don't need to be thinking about sexual preference when they're in the 3rd grade. They don't need to be hearing about all of this sex education and gender reassignment surgery and all these things that they're putting on these kids at such a young age. That is absolutely it's terrible. And I am against all of that. And I just want to bring some more attention to this. We put a lot of focus and efforts on the economy and jobs and fiscal things, and those are all important, very important. But we also need to talk about these social issues. We need to talk about the kids. And until we as moms, dads, and the adults in this country, until we stand up to protect and defend these kids, nothing's going to change. It's our job. It's up to us. They're kids. They're innocent. They rely on us to protect them. And I intend to do that.
Well, that's good stuff. And I think everybody that deals with humanity should be protecting kids. The brains haven't developed fully. Their bodies haven't developed fully, but some people act as if they have, and they do horrific things with these kids. That's a whole nother discussion. Tell you what, folks, when we come back here with Stephanie, we're going to take a deeper dive into upholding the Constitution. So don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Back here in just a few minutes, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935, or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
AMP, the multi-format network, is here to help create, produce, distribute, and sell your content. For more information, send a message to info@aamp.tv. That's info@aamp.tv.
Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you with startup strategy, sales and marketing, and establishing your company with a physical location or on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea, the American Business Trust Company can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, you may visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's abtrustco.com, or call them at 657-600-1876. That's the American Business Trust Company, 657-600-1876. Call them today. They can help your business right away.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from uppercutchops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at uppercutchops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. All natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
You're listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio at AAMP TV. This segment brought to you in part by our wonderful guest, and that is Stephanie Phillips, U.S. Senate candidate 2024, and here to tell you all about her run and what her plans are. She's going to take 30 seconds and talk about it. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Thank you, Sal, for having me. I appreciate it so much. I plan to represent the people. I don't think that we have equal representation currently, and I plan to change that. I've been in Nevada for 30 years. I have everything vested here. My entire career is here, my business. I raised my family here, my home. And I believe I've been here longer than anyone in this race. And I just have a lot vested. I want to do a lot for Nevada, and I want to push the people's agenda, not my own. And too often we see these politicians wanting to push their own agenda. They are lining their pockets. They're enriching themselves. We need to be enriching the people of our state.
And that deserves the super applause. One thing that I don't understand, and maybe I'm ignorant, I don't know. Maybe I'm blind, could be. How is it that people go into politics with X amount of dollars, whatever that means? Maybe they're not wealthy, whatnot. Maybe they're just the average Joe or Josephine, whatever. And somehow, in many cases, they end up with really deep, fat pockets. How does that happen?
You know, I hear it is the lobbyists out there. It is the trades that they make on the stock market. We hear about that quite a bit. To me, I call that insider trading. They know what's going to happen. And we saw a bunch of these politicians over the past years make, especially during COVID, they knew what was going to happen. They knew which pharmaceutical companies, they knew which stocks to buy, and they are making millions upon millions. And I don't think that that was originally the plan. The plan was to have your everyday average American citizen represent their people and go to Washington, represent their best interests, do your time, then get out and go back home to your job. I don't think these career politicians that have been in there for decades, they need to get out. I don't think it was ever designed or even meant to be like that. I think we should have 2 terms, be done, go back and have new and fresh faces in there. That average, I'm not rich. I'm that average Josephine, as you said, and I want to do the work of the people. I'm not there for the name, the fame, the power, the money. None of that means anything to me. What means something to me is representing Nevada for the right reasons. And we can go through Washington, politician by politician, and we can see.
Well, think about the idea that politicians make a bunch of money in some cases, we won't see all of them, when they take office and they're serving their country, whatever. Well, what about the military? Now, you don't see people go into the military and they had next to no money, whatnot. They don't come out with bags and bags and bags of money, generally speaking, that is. One would imagine that it would be a similar path, right or wrong.
It's true. And it should be. I think that over the years, the federal government has gotten so big and so inflated and just out of control. And it was never meant to be. The power should be within the states, not the federal government. The federal government should be much less than what it is. And their spending has just gotten and grown so out of control. We need to cut spending. We need to get rid of a bunch of these programs that they have. We need to figure out which ones we absolutely have to have, which ones we don't, and cut all the spending. Do these people really need buildings and bridges? Money abroad. There was $200 million sent to the Middle East to study gender. And I thought, what in the world, what could we be doing with that money here for our veterans, for kids that are hungry? We have such a need here in our own country that we can use that money for. I just think there's a lot of funds that are misappropriated.
Well, how about better services for our veterans?
Yeah.
They're out there on the front line taking bullets. How come we don't have better services for them? What is going on there?
That's one of the things that a lot of veterans, and I was married to a veteran. My son serves, and my brother-in-law is a retired Green Beret. But I've talked to a lot of veterans along the campaign trail and over the years, and they say this process of applying for disability with the VA is so cumbersome. They have to hire outside help in order to get through that process. These types of things should be streamlined. They should be very easy for a veteran. They've already gone through enough, and they should be provided top medical care with plenty of mental health options and doctors in different areas of mental health. And I hear that there's not enough for that. So there's definitely work to be done. We have homeless vets all over our country. I don't believe we should have one. I know some people want to be on the street. Some people do not want to become a part of society, but the ones that do, we should be able to help them.
You know what? I absolutely agree. I come from a family of a long line of veterans, from my father to all my uncles, et cetera, et cetera. Hell, for me, they would have thrown me in jail the first day if I was in, because I don't like to take orders from anybody. I can't help myself. But more importantly, I think of all these people that have gone out, and let's face it, some of them really have risked their lives to go out on the front line of this war or that war, this conflict or that conflict, call it what you will. They have not been rewarded. And what strikes me funny is they don't come back with bags of money from the combat lines, but yet many politicians go back to their plush buildings or wherever they live, whatnot, and they have really fat bank accounts. And we think of wasteful government spending. And within those government expenditures, somewhere it seems to be that there is a third party or whatnot paper trail back to these so-called politicians that seem to be lining their pockets. How can we prevent that?
Well, we all need to agree, and we need to change that. And we need to change the benefits that these politicians are getting. But and we also need to agree on term limits, but you know why we don't. They don't vote on these things. They don't vote because they want to they're in there. They want to keep these benefits coming to themselves. They want to stay in power. They want to stay in office. So how do you see them voting for term limits? So it's just getting to a point where we need to overhaul all of DC. And I would say most of the politicians in there, we need to turn them over and have people that are like-minded, like the way what I'm talking about, to where their first priority is the people and not being enriched and cutting back on these spending, cutting back on these things, and agreeing to term limits and all of this. So until we get to a place where we have people that agree on these things, it's tough. It's tough to get things changed.
I would agree it's tough to get things changed, but at the same time, who on the inside wants to talk about the holy grail of our safety and security department, justice, the FBI? What about overhauling something that, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many other people, absolutely needs to be investigated to the nth degree, whatever the heck that means, because
Yes.
there's so much inconsistency. And we hear of stories of this being spun this way to damage this candidate or this former president, et cetera. How come there's no accountability for the alleged internal affairs department?
Well, the House is trying now to bring some accountability with the Oversight Committee. We can look back, over the years and look at the double standard and the two-tier justice system, and it is so obvious. And I've been posting about that, and it is absolutely un-American, and we do need to hold all of them accountable. We can look at the DOJ and the FBI, and we can see in this current administration, we can see all of them working together. Of course, the White House claims that they don't know anything about this. The DOJ and the FBI are not being transparent. We see this in these hearings. The senators and the House representatives are calling them out on this, and we need to see what's going on. They owe it to us. They work for us, we the people. And to have this level of corruption and this level of the rules for thee and not for me, and this two-tier justice system, we can't have that and have a successful and prosperous society. This causes people to go to war. This causes so much trouble in our country, and it's absolutely unfair. You cannot target a political adversary. You cannot target one political side, and they are targeting conservatives. They're targeting the parents. You saw this. The FBI was targeting the parents that were speaking up at the school board hearings for the conservative side. Shouldn't happen at all.
Yeah, and like in our last 30 seconds of the segment, what I really have a hard time with is selective justice. In fact, when we come back from break, Stephanie, I want to talk about selective justice. Folks, don't go anywhere. Back here with Stephanie Phillips, U.S. Senate candidate 2024, right here in the great state of Nevada. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss this one, folks. Some hard-hitting content coming your way.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus, celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935, or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
KJPT, Jackpot Radio, 90.1 FM, Indian Springs, Las Vegas. Keep it locked. KJPT, Jackpot Radio, 90.1 FM, Indian Springs, Las Vegas. Keep it locked on KJPT, Jackpot. This is 97 KVGK LP FM. This is 97. This is 97.9 FM KVGK LP FM, Las Vegas.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. Folks, we're here with a very special guest, and we have been since the top of the hour. Welcome back to everybody on television and radio. You know who you are. And in fact, we're going to let Stephanie go ahead and reintroduce herself right now. Go ahead.
My name is Stephanie Phillips, and I'm running for the United States Senate seat against Jackie Rosen in 24. And I look forward to representing all of you. I have an extensive real estate background, and I plan to use all of those skills of representing people and serving people in Washington. So I'm glad to be on the show. Thanks, Sal.
All right. And again, an astounding round of applause for Stephanie. And Stephanie, when we left off in the last segment, we were talking accountability. Why don't you pick up that conversation where we were?
You were mentioning selective justice, and justice is supposed to be blind. We all know how this works, and they are abusing their power. They're abusing their office. We see it. It's plain and clear. We can listen to these hearings and listen to these FBI agents and the people in power over there, and they are not being transparent. Let's just look at the Hunter laptop. We all knew that was real. The media tried to play it off. Yes, not only do we find out it's real and the contents that are on that laptop, but they suppressed it and had it way before the 2020 election. They knew they were helping one side. They were helping Biden. And it's just, that's not fair to the American people. What's just is just, and what's equal is equal, and it needs to be applied on both sides. And if the Republicans were doing this, I would be saying the same thing. It doesn't matter what side it is. You cannot have a two-tiered justice system and only apply the law to one side. It just cannot happen. So we need to talk about this. We need to hold them accountable. The American people need to stand up and get involved. They need to vote. More than ever, their voices need to be heard. And until we all get involved, a lot of people don't like politics and they kind of want to sit on the sidelines and maybe be keyboard warriors. And a lot of people don't vote. We have this privilege. We have the right to vote, and we need our voices heard. And if we don't, we're going to lose this country.
You know, in the last statement you made, there was a keyboard warrior statement. As we all know, people sometimes have keyboard muscle. So they try to push people around behind a screen using a keyboard. And we see that with a lot of these companies with censorship.
Mm-hmm.
How would you protect your right to free speech and then talk about the Second Amendment?
Well, repeal the Section 203 that's been protecting all these big tech companies and all of this. You're right. We see all kinds of censorship. We saw that in COVID, how, everything was, quote, disinformation if you were on the conservative side. And even these doctors that are trained and they have this knowledge, they have these reports, and they were talking about effective COVID treatments. They were talking about masks. They were talking about the vaccine. And if it went against the liberal narrative, they were silenced. We saw this in hearings with Twitter and the executives at Twitter and them labeling this disinformation. How can they label that when they're not medical doctors? They don't know this. They don't have this knowledge. But yet these doctors that were trained, at Stanford, Harvard, all these things, and why were they silenced? It went against the narrative, and it went against the vaccine and all these things. And it's just, that should never happen in this country.
What about the idea of the America's frontline doctors, right? That we're trying to get their research, the truth from their research. And you have literally 100+ years of collective practice, maybe even more, might even be 1,000 years. I don't even know. The reality is you've got a bunch of doctors that have mad credentials, great credentials, and they are trying to give people the real information, but yet the blue media seems to silence them. Why? What is the agenda? What is the purpose for this?
They do. It's all about their agenda, and it boils down to money. If we look at it, the billions and billions of dollars that were generated just through COVID, through the pharmaceutical companies, these companies making masks, all of these things, all of these big box stores that got to stay open, but then they shut down the little guy. They shut down the individual mom and pop gyms, restaurants, all of these things. It all boiled down to this group of elites at the top. You know, they get to make millions and billions of dollars. Look at how much money Fauci made. Look how much money Bill Gates made. All you have to do is follow the money and look at what happened. And it is absolutely disgusting that this happened to the American people.
Stephanie, what about the infringement of the freedom to assemble and the freedom of religion?
That
right?
too.
So closing churches down. You couldn't even practice your own spirituality with a group of others because of why?
Right. Exactly. They wanted to control the masses. They wanted to control people. And I believe this is not an isolated incident. I believe we're going to see this again. And I believe they wanted to see how people would react. And honestly, this is a huge motivation of why I jumped into politics, because during COVID, we saw what we did and then shutting down our schools and our churches, and then them telling us we had to take a vaccine in order to keep our jobs. They violated our constitutional rights, and I didn't even recognize the country I was living in at that moment. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to sit on the sidelines anymore. I'm going to get involved. And I have the skills. I believe I'm more qualified than anyone in this race to represent the people and to be their voice and actually represent for the right reasons, not to push myself or my agenda or, line my pocket.
Well, it certainly appeared as a violation of the Nuremberg Code as well. You cannot coerce somebody into taking an injection. Frankly, it's not even an FDA-approved injection on top of it, but you can't hold their job over their head. You can't hold their life and their livelihood over their head because of an agenda. And let's face it, this is not approved science. This is experimental, FDA experimental, here's how I always call it, non-FDA approved experimental drug injections, because that's exactly what they are. And you can't get stricken from this member, this media organization or that one, whatever, for speaking the truth. But apparently, yet you can in this country, because that is exactly what they were. And employers were allowed to strike their employees out of a job because they wouldn't take an experimental injection. This kind of garbage has to stop. It'll start right here on the state level with you, Stephanie. How would you approach that?
That's right. I have said many times, I will never support a mandate to force a vaccination for you to keep your job or anything like that. I believe in medical freedom and I believe in bodily autonomy. So we need to go back and all of the military personnel that they let go because they were not approving their religious exemptions, and these veterans, they didn't want to take the vaccine, and because it was experimental. These other vaccines that
It's experimental.
Yes, exactly. And they developed it so quickly. How do we know? And we've seen the side effects to this vaccine. We see the 400% in increase in miscarriages. We see the huge increase in myocarditis. We see all these people, these healthy young athletes, dropping dead. Why is that? The percentage and the things that are happening, we need to go back through and take a look at that. So just because somebody doesn't want an experimental vaccine, and I've never been an anti-vaxxer, and if you want to get it, great. If you don't, that's great too, but it should be your choice. Shouldn't be held over. All these airline pilots that we lost because they didn't want to get the vaccine, that should have been their choice. And then they were saying all these companies that had 100 employees or more, they had to require the vaccine. These things were so un-American and so out of left field. They should never have happened. So I want to make sure when I'm in Washington that every single veteran that was let go, they claim now that they're letting them come back and they will be restored. I want to make sure that all of them are restored.
Well, they should be. Take 30 seconds to talk about that restoration.
And they should all have back pay, be repaid. All of that, when they retroactive, they should be restored whole with pay and benefits and everything else. And they should rectify these wrongs because that completely was un-American, unconstitutional, in my opinion, and should never have happened.
I couldn't agree more. And there are so many people that realized or they believe that our country was weakened by these BS policies, in my opinion, of course, right? All the military people that were relieved from duties, and that was their career, that was their life. And unfortunately, it was taken away in my opinion, the least respectful way. And that should never, ever happen. Folks, we're going to be back here with Stephanie Phillips, U.S. Senate candidate 2024, right here in the state of Nevada, in just a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come. Three minutes. All right, we're going to let this one run through the break because we have a bunch of fun, silly cartoon sound effects that are going on right now. And I think they're great because it's almost a depiction of what's going on in Washington. But then again, it is. And I think that's probably the best way to say it. Mm-hmm. So on break, I mean, look, we've got about 2.5 minutes and there's so much to cover. There really is. And folks, you're getting the behind the scenes discussion during commercial break. And we could go on any number of voter ID you did cover, but I want to talk about voter ID and securing the border, how those two go hand in hand, because that's sort of a disaster.
It
and
is.
We're trying to keep this a PG rated show. I don't want to start using bad language because we can't anyway. We'll say, no, you can't. I don't want to do that one.
No. Well, I believe in voter ID across the nation. We use an ID too.
Right.
So there, they like to
hold that thought for on air.
Okay.
Your expansion of that. These are things I think from a previous. So I think we may want to cover those. And if there's anything else in here, I mean, look, you're going to come back and you're going to be with us because we want you back and you represent what's good in this state. We both have the same flag, right? Mine just unfolded. That's it. But nonetheless, you've got.
We can talk about abortion too, because that.
And behind this one.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
Right. We've got that. I won't start playing the guitar, so don't worry.
Okay. Action integrity, all important things.
Right. Okay. So we've got about 12 minutes in this segment. You can bring us back from break. I'll let you bring us back from break and you could say, welcome back to the Sports Circus and tell them that this is Stephanie Phillips, U.S. Senate candidate 2024, whatever. You can go ahead and do that. And then throw it back to me when you're done. But watch for my cue. I'll give you the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then right? Because I have to bring the volume down on the music. And let's get to the middle of this. So now you're not only working with the show, but now you're going to kind of work for the show. Kidding. Okay. All right, here we go.
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back, folks, to the Sports Circus. Thank you, Sal, for having me on today. I am your guest. My name is Stephanie Phillips, and I'm running for the United States Senate seat here in Nevada in 2024. And while we were on break, we were talking about a few different subjects that we want to highlight and talk about. What were those, Sal?
Okay, as I recall, it was voter ID. Oh, by the way, folks, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents. Yes, including our friends right here in Las Vegas. Keep it locked on KJPT, Jackpot Radio, 90.1 FM, Indian Springs, Las Vegas. I love playing that. That's great stuff. So that's right here in Las Vegas, KVGK 97.9 FM, as well as KJPT 90.1. Our friends over in Honolulu on KHKA, CBS Sports 1500. Thanks for joining us also in Auburn, Alabama, WAD, home of the Atlanta Braves, WDJY in Atlanta, Georgia, as well as all of our Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Wow Cable Television affiliates and Hotel TV in all Nielsen-rated markets across the country. Yes, back here talking with Stephanie Phillips, U.S. Senate candidate 2024, and voter ID is kind of a big deal. And you were talking a little bit about that. I said, wait, hold your discussion until we get into the program after we come back from break. So now I want you to go ahead and talk about that.
You know, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't have a national voter ID law. We use our ID for everything, to renting a car, a hotel room, to buying alcohol, cigarettes, you know, anything, to drive a vehicle, to buy a weapon. We use our IDs for everything. And for them and the left to push this narrative that somehow we're trying to suppress voting by requiring a voter ID or an ID is just absolutely ridiculous. And they were saying that these people, they can't afford to get an ID. They can, because they drive cars, they're in society just like everybody else. The people that are on, welfare and assistance, government assistance, they have to have an ID. So it's unreasonable to think that we cannot have voter ID in this country.
How about the idea that, okay, fine, let's make an addendum. Let's put an addition into the welfare system in their EBT cards or whatever needs to be done. And instead of having a SNAP card for food or whatnot, how about a SNAP Plus card that's also an ID card that could be used for what? For voting, maybe something that doubles as a real ID. So there's no additional costs where people can't afford it because it's already paid for by the state government in that case. So you have a real ID that has to parallel maybe the SNAP card or an EBT card or whatnot, something that parallels one another. So you can say, okay, now you have this and you have this, therefore you can vote. If you only have this, but you don't have this, thus you cannot vote. Yet it's already been provided by the state government. So there is no issue in cost. So I don't want to hear this garbage of, well, I can't afford to get an ID. What do you think about that?
Well, there's very easy ways to implement that. Very simple. And that it should not be a problem to require an ID to vote. But what they're doing is, we all know why. We all know why they're doing this. And even at the DMV, when a person gets a driver's license, they register them to vote. Are they legal citizens? Do they check these things? Are they allowed to vote in our elections? These are the things that need to be, held to account. We need to audit these things. Are these people real citizens? We need to follow the laws in our country. So we all know why they're doing this. They want to be able to allow all of these people to vote on the left. That's why they're allowing this border to be open, allowing millions and millions to come across. They're just pandering for votes. We all know across this country, we have seen all kinds of shenanigans go on in our elections. We see this. So until we can drill down and get to the bottom of these things, we're going to keep seeing these things. We have to have fair elections in this country. And we know what the consequences are when they're not.
Stephanie, what do you think about the idea that our own veterans can't get certain benefits, let alone the balance of the citizens? Our own veterans can't get what undocumented aliens get when they come across, because the undocumented aliens, apparently they seek asylum or whatnot. So there are special rules for them from pick your favorite country. I don't care where they're from. The reality is that an undocumented alien appears to have more rights than our own veterans who have fought for this country. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it seems backwards. And it also was brought to my attention that people who have come to this country and they're not, they're on a visa and they serve our country. Should they, once they're done serving for our country, should they have automatic citizenship? I think we kind of need to address that. And we need to see, I can't read that, what you're showing to me. Sorry, it's blurry. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, we need to have, I can't see that, it's blurry. But anyway, we need to address some of these because it seems like everything that is upside down and backwards is the right thing and everything that's right is wrong. Everything is backwards now. And until we address this and we stand up and be counted for and be heard and be loud, all these things are going to continue to happen. And there's just one side that's pushing all of this. And the majority of America, I believe, they believe in law and order. They believe in our Constitution. They believe things should be done the right way. And we just see so many things backwards now. And it's a shame.
It seems like there is a lot backwards, but for a purpose and for a cause. Look, controlling the vote and controlling the media means that the people become sheeple. Mm-hmm. How do we see that?
Yeah, it's so sad. Again, it's who we're electing into office. It's who we're getting into our city councils and commissions and legislatures and in Washington. So in order to combat this, we need to overwhelm the system. People need to get out to vote. And there are so many, just in this last cycle, 113,000 or so Republicans didn't vote. So when people sit home and they don't vote and their voice is not represented, that hurts us and that hurts America. And that's why we're seeing this. We need to invigorate people. We need to get them excited about this. We need people to see what's going on. And our country, I believe, we are in crisis and we're going to lose our country. We're going to lose our rights. They want to take away more of our rights all the time. So until everybody gets involved and their voices are heard, it's going to keep continuing on the same track. And sorry, I couldn't see what you were trying to.
Oh, that's okay. I'll send that to you on a private message. So we have a ongoing medical cost issue, not just in the state of Nevada, but all over the place. And we seem to have a disappearing middle class. How are you going to protect that?
You know, we've got a lot of work to do as far as the medical here. We need to bring a lot more great doctors to our valley, but people are not coming here because of our education system. So it's kind of like all intertwined. So we really need help in our education system. Country, model that, bring that here so we can bring better medical. We have a huge retirement community here and retirement folks that need medical. And a lot of people I hear, they go to California, they go to other states for medical. Why should
not just the medical? I've looked at it as an enormous problem. And I absolutely know a lot of people that do the same thing. I want you to address real quick the Clark County School District as being essentially one of the worst in the entire country when we have so much money in Clark County. How can you fix that?
You know, it's unfortunate. A lot of that happens at the state level. And that is up to the state people. Of course, on the federal level, the Department of Education and those federal funds that are directed to schools, to each state, that, of course, I would have something to say on. But at the state level, I hear a lot of people talk about breaking up the Clark County School District, making that smaller. Maybe that would be more effective. Maybe that would help. I really think that we need to take a look at those things. People want school choice, and we need to have other options for parents because they want to be a part of what is being taught in school. And a lot of parents are having a problem with some of these things in the curriculum. So they want to homeschool, they want school choice so they can go put their kids where they want them. So there's a lot that needs to happen at the state level, but I will do whatever I can at the federal level to either direct or take away funds at the federal level for these schools that are teaching these horrible things that are, they're very unpopular. So, and parents want to get away from that. So they need to really listen to the parents here.
Stephanie, one thought on that real quick, and then I want you to wrap it up and give everybody how to follow you at Instagram just as much as the kids. And they really do. They really do. Okay, listen, take 30 seconds, tell everybody how to follow you, what you're about in a quick summary, and then we'll just wrap it up and let's get out of here.
Sure, I appreciate it. My website is phillipsfornevada.com, and that's with the number 4. All of my social media, I am on Twitter, Facebook, Getter, Truth, and Instagram, and it is all Phillips for Nevada. And again, that's the number 4. You can email me, call me, on to you. You can find me on all of those platforms. I would love to talk to you. I love it when voters reach out to me, and they call me, surprised they actually get a call back. I call people back. I want to hear you, talk to you. I want to represent you. It's not about me. It's about your agenda. It's about we the people.
Well, that's a great thought. And again, always we dole out the applauses because we're certainly thanking you for coming out on the show. You have a lot of good to bring to the show. We're going to bring you back, of course, if you want to be back.
Of course.
And at the same time, we're going to cheer you on to victory in 2024. So Stephanie, thanks for joining us today. The great Stephanie Phillips, U.S. Senate candidate 2024 for the state of Nevada. And we're going to see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So until then, so long, everyone.
Thank you.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from uppercutchops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at uppercutchops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. Uppercutchops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection